Isn't it insane how many of these people think that it's basically all a game to them until they actually get sentenced or they go to jail, and then they're like, wait, what? Wait, what? No way! Wait a minute! Oh my God! Are you telling me that I can actually get in trouble? No way!
Be wary. No
This TikToker is facing life in prison for ending her boyfriend's life, but I guess she's also blowing kisses in court. Welcome back to another episode of what in the world is going on with these darn influencers, because for some reason, a whole bunch of them just can't act right. So, okay, after sitting in jail for more than 3 years awaiting trial, and after being denied bond, yet again, she shows up to a motions hearing, sticking her tongue out and puckering up at the people in the courtroom. Okay, ma'am, you're charged with second-degree murder. You're about to stand trial this spring. Why are you acting like this? Because if you're claiming self-defense and your entire future depends on a jury believing you were terrified and had no other choice, why are you blowing kisses like this is some sort of like a red carpet event? Like, hello? And also, like, I know a lot of you guys are probably lost here, but the story starts in April 2022 because police were then called to a luxury apartment building in Miami, and inside the apartment they found a 27-year-old Christian Toby Abumseli, no longer responsive. Courtney here took his life with a knife, and she's claiming
What the fuck?
in self-defense. And Courtney Clemmy, she's a TikToker, Instagram model, and OF girl. And she has millions of followers, and she's known online as Courtney Taylor. But by the time first responders arrived, Toby was bleeding heavily and would later lose his life to his injuries.
In the next room, paramedics are trying to help Christian.
Sit down, sit down, sit down. Do me a favor, sit down. Do not move. Do not move, sit down.
Oh my God, oh my God. Courtney is begging to see him, but police explain she cannot go back inside because the apartment is considered a crime scene.
I'm covered in blood. Okay, I understand that. I understand that. And if I know in your case, then what will I do with
All right.
I need to be like my other half.
And Courtney didn't deny what happened. She acknowledged that she ended his life, but said that she was acting in self-defense. She told investigators that Toby had pushed her and thrown her to the floor, then claimed she grabbed a knife and threw it at him from about 10 feet away. And that's the version of events for
What does she think? She's like a teenage mutant ninja turtle? She's like a ninja, some shit like that? Like, what is this? Like, that's hard to do, by the way.
and stood by. But it's safe to say the medical examiner's stories complicated that story, because the autopsy concluded that Abumseli, he passed away from a forceful downward thrust from a blade that went 3 inches into his chest, which, you know, was piercing a major artery. And investigators essentially say that the fatal wound could not have been caused by a knife thrown from that distance. And fuck. That's the detail which has people questioning everything about her story. Because thrown knife versus downward plunge, that's the question. And this has been the biggest point of tension for the entire case. But she wasn't arrested that day or even the next day. In fact, she wasn't taken into custody until 4 months later, in August of 2022. Because then she was arrested in Hawaii at a rehab facility, and she was then extradited back to Florida to face a charge of second-degree murder. And at the time of her arrest, Miami-Dade...
Wait, so, oh my God, so they let her... Number one, like, if you have the, I mean, I guess they didn't know whether she did it or not, right? Because there's like a degree of uncertainty, so I guess that's why they let her out. I don't know, man.
State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle described the incident as coming from a tempestuous and combative relationship that began in November of 2020. And that relationship had already drawn attention long before Toby lost his life. Because the couple had previously lived in Austin, Texas. And there, I'm
hurt.
Oh boy.
Now, a disappearing.
Oh boy, that's my town. Yeah, bro, we got a lot of crash outs here, we do.
Former neighbors said that their fights were so frequent and intense that, according to reporting at the time, police were called to their residence multiple times. So after leaving Miami, prosecutors said the violence continued, and their building was even preparing to evict them because of the repeated disturbances.
Holy shit!
I'm getting ulted.
Like,
Solo ulted.
How bad the fighting
Behind you.
then video surfaces from a trip the couple took to Aspen just months before Toby's life was ended. And in that footage, Courtney can be seen hitting him repeatedly during an argument. I'm unsure how much we can actually show of that footage here, but it looks bad.
Oh yeah, bro, she stabbed him. Dude, like, listen to her. She's, yeah. Dude, this is someone, she should have gotten locked up, bro. Like, this is the kind of person, this is a wild ass, and listen to the way she talks. Listen to the way she talks. Oh, bro, absolutely, totally a crash out. Absolutely white trash crash out. Trailer park. Like, again, should have never been on the internet, should have never been an influencer. This is somebody that, like, their life should have been, again, like, this is somebody who should have been digging potatoes out of the ground, right? That should have been her life. Somebody gave her a cell phone, and now this is what happens.
Spider-Man!
Video shows model Courtney Clenny hitting then boyfriend Christian Obumseli over a dozen times while on a trip in Aspen, Colorado. This is one of more than 100 pieces of evidence released to the Obumseli family civil attorney as part of the investigation.
In that video, you can see Courtney acting erratically. You can see her hitting Christian multiple times, which unfortunately is consistent with her behavior throughout this entire case.
But her attorney later described the relationship as toxic and said that evidence exists that Obumseli physically abused Courtney on prior occasions, and on April 3rd, 2022, Courtney was forced to defend herself from Obumseli's physical attack. Well, I mean, it's hard to say because we weren't there and we don't have camera footage of what happened. But to me, it looks like there's also evidence that Courtney did this back to Toby. So, from the beginning, this case has not been simple whatsoever. On one side, you have a woman claiming self-defense and what she describes as an abusive relationship. On the other side, you have forensic evidence that prosecutors argue does not match up to her story. And as this case has moved forward, it's only become more and more complicated because it wasn't just Courtney who ended up facing charges, her parents did as well. Well, that definitely doesn't make her look good.
Wait,
and
what?
Kim and Deborah Clenny were taken into custody in Texas on out-of-state felony charges connected to the case. Because according to the arrest warrant affidavit, Kim, Deborah, and Courtney were charged with one count of unauthorized access of a computer system, or electronic device belonging to Christian Obumseli. Because investigators believe that Obumseli's laptop had been taken from the Miami apartment after his passing and accessed without permission. And the Obumseli family's attorneys released a statement saying the Obumseli family is saddened to hear the reports that Courtney's parents illegally took possession of Christian's laptop.
So they could have theoretically taken the laptop in order to delete evidence of her being violent. The good thing about that is that they can probably recover that evidence. Like, usually a soft delete, like the way that, like, basically a parent would do, probably just removes the file from the registry, and they might be able to recover that information.
And this is yet another disturbing reminder of horrible crimes committed with their family. The Clenny's family's attorney fired back, basically saying that they were saddened to hear her parents were arrested, and it was an overstep by the prosecution. They also said, we believe the Clenny family has been targeted.
I mean, if they took the guy's laptop right after she killed him, then, I mean, couldn't you easily just look at the phone conversations if he called, like, she calls them, they get the laptop. Like, I mean, I feel like this is pretty easy to figure out, right?
With some trumped up
they
charges.
took, oh wait, they just, so they, wait a minute, so they didn't delete, they destroyed everything? Wait a minute, let me see if I can understand. I wonder if they still even have the laptop.
Just to discredit them in the press and make their lives miserable. It stinks of a power play by prosecutors to control the narrative. So now, not only was Courtney facing a murder charge, her parents were facing felony charges tied to alleged computer access. And in July of 2024, the computer hacking charges were dropped because of a circuit judge ruled that Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office violated attorney-client privilege when investigators seized text messages and emails between Courtney, her parents, and her attorneys. And that doesn't mean that they didn't take the computer, it just means the investigators got a hold of information that was meant to be between Courtney's family and their lawyers. And on the murder charge side of things,
that seems like bullshit to me.
Courtney was charged with second-degree murder. When she first went into the judge, her legal team pushed for a bond. They argued that she was not a flight risk and that she should be allowed to await trial outside of jail. But the judge disagreed. She was denied bond, and she's been behind
base judge
bars ever since. Over the next few months, though,
yeah, we need more of them.
started coming out. And through all of this, through the public hearings, the public statements, the video evidence, the parents' arrest, Courtney Plenty, she remained in jail. And by the time 2025 rolled around, Courtney Plenty had been in jail for more than 3 years. So her defense team tried again. In December, she was back in court asking the judge to reconsider bond. Her attorneys argued that she didn't have the money she once did. They said that she wasn't a flight risk and that she didn't pose a danger to the community. They told the court that if she was to be released, she would go back to Texas and live with her parents in DK. And prosecutors argued that the evidence presented by the defense did not change the situation and that Plenty should not be considered for bond. The judge also agreed with the state, and bond was denied yet again. This means, you know, she has to wait in jail until her trial.
That's what
the December hearing did actually lead to a trial. So the judge set the trial to begin on April 27, 2026. And prosecutors said they believe the case would take less than 2 weeks to present. So after years of legal back and forth, after motions, hearings, and privilege disputes, and public statements, this case finally has a clock on it. Spring of 2026. And I mean, honestly, the stakes could not be higher because if convicted, she could face life in prison. Her defense is still centered around the self-defense, but they also have pushed for the case to be considered manslaughter instead of second-degree murder. And the prosecution maintains that the evidence shows an intentional act, pointing again to the autopsy finding of a forceful downward thrust. And that couldn't have just been made from a knife being thrown from 10 feet away. And I guess
also, if it was self-defense, wouldn't she have marks on herself as well?
At this time, a jury will eventually decide, was this self-defense during a violent domestic dispute, or was it all intentional? And then, just as trial season was approaching, she walked into court last week and went viral once again because this court appearance was for, I guess, her motions hearing ahead of the trial. So this wasn't her trial itself. This was one of those hearings where lawyers argue about what evidence the jury will and won't see. And before the proceedings even began, she started making faces at the people in the courtroom. And according to
Actually, I can tell you why she's doing this. People like her, there are a lot of girls that are violent, aggressive, psychopathic, sociopathic, and problematic that get away with it because they're hot. That's the real reason.
Before you attack. Get ready.
Reporting from the hearing, Plenty was seen sticking out her tongue and puckering like she wanted someone's kiss. Like, again, ma'am, your life is on the line here. Why are you acting like this?
Because she's probably spent her entire life getting privileges and advantages and other amounts of, you know, basically excuses made for her and her bad behavior for her entire life, and now she's being held accountable and she doesn't realize it. That's, I think, what's happened. And so, like, she's not used to it.
More than 3 years.
Like,
she's facing second-degree murder.
Basically, people like this never really have to grow up. I think that's the best example.
Murder charges, and, you know, she could spend the rest of her life in prison, and this is what she's deciding to do. So, yeah. But her defense team tried to strike down one of the prosecutor's expert witnesses, Dr. Michael Brandon, because apparently the issue is that Brandon had sued the defense proposed expert, Dr. Lenore Walker, for defamation more than 20 years ago. And the case was settled with an agreement that they would not personally align with each other. And Walker testified that it would make her uncomfortable to remain involved if Brandon stayed in the case. Basically, the defense and the prosecution's star witnesses are fighting on top of everything else happening here.
What a surprise.
So, that makes this case even more interesting. But Brandon testified that there's no reason why both sides can't continue if everyone keeps it professional. But Judge Andrea Wolfson denied the defense's motion, and there was also a fight over recordings. Because prosecutors also want to introduce recordings that Christian Almcelli secretly made of Courtney before his passing. And the defense argued that those recordings were illegal recordings and should be excluded. And Judge...
If it was like illegal recordings, like what are we talking about? If it's a one-party state, it's not an illegal recording. Like that just sounds like bullshit, so they're trying to get stuff thrown out.
Wolfson ruled to exclude most of them, but we'll still see some of these secret recordings when the trial comes around. Because recordings made in the apartment's lobby and on the balcony can be used, ruling there was no reasonable expectation of privacy in those areas. So apparently, some of that audio will also be played for a jury.
I'm actually not having a good day, or I actually really want to, but you're totally serious.
I want to kill you. And now then she killed him? Okay.
So her trial
Guys,
is
I think I
set to
know
begin
what
on
happened.
April 27, 2026. 12 people will be asked to decide whether this was self-defense in a volatile relationship or whether this was an intentional act. And honestly, when you're about to ask 12 strangers to believe you were terrified for your life, blowing kisses in court doesn't really seem like the best.
Again, see, these are people that are used to getting everything they want in their entire life, and they never have to grow up. They can act like adult children because people put up with them. And you see this with rich people, you see it with pretty girls, you see it with other groups of people that have privileges, and that is the reason why it happened. They're like spoiled children, even though they're like 23 or something like that.
That's the idea. So, hey, this will be interesting to see how it all plays out. But until then, I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. I am back with daily uploads again. I took a break after all my traveling, but I have so much content that's stacked up for you guys. So, I'll see you guys soon. Peace. Subscribe if you're new. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Peace. That was like my favorite outro.
I remember how long ago.
2 seconds. See ya. We'll record it.
Okay, well, anyway, I just...
We need to go to the Discord store to go back.
This TikToker is facing life in prison for ending her boyfriend's life, but I guess...
Why is it so laggy? So yeah, that's what you get. I think this is another example of somebody thinking that they totally, absolutely, you know, there's nothing that's going to happen to them. They're never going to be held accountable. There's never going to be any consequences. And then somebody like this thinks that they're going to get away with it. I think that she thinks she's going to get away with it even now. She probably thinks she's going to get away with it even after 4 years, right? She sounds like a keeper. I mean, keep her in jail. Yeah, there you go. Not a flight risk. Crime committed in Florida, arrested in Hawaii. Well, to be fair, that's not really what a flight risk means, but yeah. Abuse knows no gender, kids. Yeah, but there's definitely an advantage that you have if you're one gender. I'll tell you that. No, I saw this, and it's like, some of these content creators are just so fucking deranged because she will get away with it. I don't think that she will, but I think the chances of her getting life in prison are very low. Women usually get very reduced sentences for crimes, and while this is a very serious crime, I still don't think necessarily that's what's going to happen. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I just seeing content creators do this is kind of like weird for me to look at. I'll be honest with
Executioner!
Polished shooter RPG the special time. Players rewarded that massively. Slots and Daggers is a new fantasy roguelike where your dungeon battles play out on a slot machine. You're venturing through floors fighting goblins and ogres, but instead of choosing attacks from a menu, you pull a slot lever. The symbols that line up dictate what happens. Swords mean you attack, potions heal you, shields block, critical hits, stuff like that. But there's strategy. You can hold certain reels, equip charms and bias outcomes. Essentially deck build your slot machine before each run. It's inspired by D&D clearly, but filtered through casino mechanics. One person made this.
Yeah, this is really good too. This reminds me kind of like Uma Musume. Like, I remember playing that game and I was like, because before I played Uma, I would have never played a game like this, but now I think that I would be more in the, I would be more willing to try it out.
A solo German developer, 6 months of development. It costs £4
Pretty
right now.
derby.
Only been out for 4 days. Already sold 50,000 copies with 94% positive reviews on Steam. He just made one weird thing really well. Intentionally crude art style, proper hand-drawn, small
Well, I
scope.
don't think it's crude. I mean, I actually think that this art style is very deliberate and well done. I think that every art style, like if you go with a PS1 art style, or like this is like a 2000s, you know, this is a video game that would run on Windows 2000 Professional, right? And it would be a great game. That's the kind of experience that I think a lot of people like. They enjoy those types of games. And so really it's not about the graphics, it's not about anything else, it's just about the gameplay. That's what matters more than anything, is the gameplay and the fluidity of the gameplay. And that's what AAA developers really lack right now, is that they just don't really have that ability to lock down a enjoyable, fun gameplay. That's the big weakness. And it seems like it's like, oh, the big problem with video games nowadays is the game part of the game. Yeah, that's it. It's more accessible. Yeah, and a lot of these other games too, another big factor with them is that they reward short, intensive play sessions. And I think that that's something that, you know, for example, Balatro did very well. It's something that Vampire Survivors did very well. And I think that you're seeing like people move away from the longer engagement, you know, 40-minute, maybe 30-minute league games, and people want a 10-minute game. They want a 15-minute game or a 5-minute game that they can pause or move in and out of.
But polished, no chasing scale or endless content, just a tight, replayable loop.
Back to basics,
Something
yeah.
genuinely new. I've got a feeling this one could blow up pretty soon. Another one I highly recommend checking out.
Maybe I'll try it out.
Megalon, we covered this one already.
Yeah.
A solo developer, Vampire Survivors
One
in
guy.
3D, sold 1 million copies in 2 weeks. Currently estimated around 3 million copies.
This was a really good game. I hate to say it, I actually liked Ball Pit more, but that also comes as a bit of a boomer who really just loves arcade games. I really love arcade games. So, you know, Ball Pit was definitely for me, but I really like this game too.
So it's the same pattern, tiny team, weird idea, massive success.
Yep.
So what do all of these have in common? Innovation, risk, fun first, sales second.
They were made with a combined budget of less than a meal for 2 people at Five Guys.
Vision from people who clearly love games. While 26% of European game professionals were laid off in the past year, with over 10% of them still looking for work and 13% of them leaving the industry. These tiny teams were just building something genuine.
Another thing too is that a lot of these video games, like these guys that are really good at coding, some of them might have skills that are unique to the video game industry, but some of them have skills that I think can be translated to other industries. So, like, where do you think you're going to get paid better? Are you going to get paid better at, you know, one of these, like, new drone defense companies, like Anduril or something like that, or Palantir? Or are you going to get paid better at Blizzard? Ooh. Yeah, you got FinTech. Yeah, well, that's another one, too. Yeah, financial technology, exactly. Yeah.
Do not give in. New. The craziest part of all of this, you can buy all 6 of these games for less than one AAA release at 60 quid. 6 completely unique experiences, hundreds of hours of gameplay, all innovative, all made by people who took genuine risk because they love video games. And most of these games had more daily players than Bloodlines 2.
That was a flopperooski, wasn't it?
£60 game, a game that peaked at 27,000 concurrent players on Steam for a fraction of the price and a fraction of the development time. The pattern's clear, small teams moving fast, building what they actually want to play.
Well, it's what I've been saying before, right? Where a lot of these video games become too big to succeed. The machine becomes so big and so bureaucratic that it becomes oppressive and actually a barrier to creativity and to productivity. And I think that you see this happen in all kinds of industries, where small teams that are efficient can be more agile and function like a Viking longboat. I feel like a lot of Viking longboats probably didn't crash and hit icebergs and fucking everybody dies, right? I'm sure it happened, but not like the Titanic. You know, it's much easier to turn one of those than it is a Titanic. And I think that's what happens, is that you have these really, really big games that are in development for 7 or 10 years, and big surprise, by the time this game comes out, the entire industry has changed. And I think that really small teams are able to look at a trend, immediately see what the customers want, react to it, create a gameplay loop, and then put it out there. I think that also there's a lot of video games now that have so many additional and extra things attached to them. So like a really good example of this, and this is like a criticism that I have, is like Digimon has like a card game that's built into it. I think it's kind of like Gwent, that's what I would assume. There is no reason for that to be in the game. There are a lot of these like weird features that video games have that are like these like secondary game functions. Really, I hate the card game. I don't even know what it is. I never even played them. LOL people like those. I don't really think that they matter. Really, I don't. Like mini games inside of video games, I think are way overdone right now. They are tremendously overdone, and like meta level progression, mini game progression, stuff like that, I think is totally fucking overdone. And there's just so much of it now that it's exhausting.
he's diluting the vision. No focus groups, removing
Like, the reason why, for example, it works for a game like Ball Pit is that it's basically it's your upgrade function the same as you had in Hades, right? For example. So it's okay, and it's also very, very fast. You place your buildings, then you shoot the guys out, and then you're done, and you do another mission, right? It's not this long, involved process. Yakuza is otherwise. Well, Yakuza has its own, like, I mean, so does Mario Party, right? But, like, it's a different genre type of game. And I think also it's known for that type of stuff. It's like WarioWare, for example. But I think that in general, a lot of these video games that try to be like an everything game, I think that they just end up exhausting players.
Just here's an idea, let's make it.
It's going to be an MMO. Yeah, I played an MMO a lot. That's how I know.
2025
feels like
has
video game
truly
bloat.
proved
Yeah.
something. Innovation beats budget, passion beats polish, fun beats everything.
Yeah,
Gaming
fun. Yeah, fun and just gameplay. Gameplay matters more than anything, right? But the Digimon game is fun. Plus, it's right from the original VPET toys. Yeah, I just think it's just bloated. It doesn't matter, and it's just more bullshit that I don't care about. Like, I get some people might care about it. They might like it. I don't. I think it's a waste of space. It's a waste of time, and there's no reason to have it. That's where I'm at. That's what I think.
It's just happening somewhere else right now.
Yep.
In basements, spare bedrooms, school studios, who still remember why they got into this industry in the first place. That's where all the innovation is happening right now. If you can't see it by now, then you need to get your eyes checked. As always, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to
This
give
is
it
a
a
really
like,
good video.
comment, and subscribe to the channel. There's plenty more where this came from. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one.
W video. Absolutely. Give me a second. Wait a second. Sorry. Another video. Anyway, my point is that I really, really like this, and I totally agree with it. Have you beaten the Moon Boss? I have not. Clover Pit is fire, by the way. Maybe I should try it out. Here's the thing, mouthwashing was also very good storytelling. Indie devs are just better at that. Well, are also better at that. Well, I think that, I mean, you can have great storytelling at a AAA level, like, for example, Expedition 33. Like, you can have that. It's just that in many of these games, it just simply is not there. Give the video a like. I think this is really good. From Veteran Joystick. And I saw it recommended to me, and I wanted to try it out myself. So this duck game is actually pretty popular. I'll watch this. I'm not going to watch it today, but I'll watch it maybe tomorrow or something. I've never seen one of his videos before. He only has 25,000 subs. So I'll have to try it out and see what happens. And indie devs don't have the restrictions on storytelling or interceptors. Well, I think also that here's another really big reason why indie devs are successful. The reason why is because indie development, you're telling a story, and there's only like 3 or 2 people that are involved in writing the story. Whereas whenever you're telling a story for maybe Assassin's Creed Shadows, you had 30, 40, 50 people that are involved in one way or another with the narrative design. And so whenever you have such a large team spread out, the message of a story gets diluted. And I think that unless you have like one guy that's at the helm that's directing this, like for example, the way Kojima, right, is he's the guy that's directing the way the story is going to go, then you're going to have a problem with making things like that happen. Yeah, also you have HR. Yeah, sure. And you have 30 people telling them how to change it. Yeah, it's like, it's very hard to design something that is a, you know, like a creative passion by consensus, especially not by corporate consensus. And I think that's the big weakness that a lot of these games have, is that they're just they're designed by consensus. That's it. Have you seen Ben Shapiro crashing out and making Kelly show? No, I haven't. I'll look at that in a minute. But yeah, designed by HR. Well, it's approved by HR. It's not designed by HR, but it's approved. Expedition 33 studio wasn't AAA size. Yeah, I think they had like 30-something developers, right? So it was actually extremely small, and everyone being on board for the creation journey. Yeah, and also whenever you have 5 people that you're working with, it's much harder for things to be lost in translation because there are a few people that are translating. So now, whenever you have all these people constantly talking and doing all this stuff, it's hard to really have a consistent, universal message. And I think that's the big difference too. The EU wants to kill microtransactions. Thank God. This has been, and I really think that microtransactions in games, it's just there's too many of them now. There's way, way too many of them. W? Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, the EU are up to regulatory shenanigans again. The question is, will this be good for us or will it be bad for us? And with that in mind, here's a quote. Let's not kill one of Europe's few tech success stories. That was a rather damning statement given by the CEO of Supercell, and its latest shot in a war that has been silently raging since April, because that's when the EU unveiled new guidelines for microtransactions.
If your idea of tech success is guilting and like tricking kids into spending their parents' money, like I wouldn't really say that's a tech success. That's like saying a Nigerian prince email scam is a tech success.
Actions in gaming, and now, after a summer of adjustment, the industry is speaking out. Now, obviously, in one way, that's all kind of hilarious, and we do sort of think, yeah, you rammed our games full of this bullshit, a lot of it has felt fairly manipulative, it's probably good that someone is getting involved. Big picture, that is what I think.
I do think so. I think they should regulate microtransactions, absolutely. Any sort of payment, like basically, I think they should make it to where you can only buy things in video games for the local currency. So there are no gems, there are no tokens, there are no crystals, there are no prima gems, there are no, you know, icons, there are no tickets, there are no coins, there are no bars, there is no silver, there is no gold, there is just dollars or European fucking, whatever the fuck they use over there, European euros. Anything, right? No V-Bucks. Yes, local pricing only. Now, I would be willing to compromise with local pricing being required next to the pricing in terms of the gems and in terms of everything else. I would be okay with that compromise, but even that I think is just, it's obfuscation. Because again, like the reason why they have those tickets and all those different currencies, the reason why they exist is so you don't know how much money you're spending, right? It's to confuse you. It's to like abstract the money that you're spending and to separate you from the dollar amount, and that way you're confused. And on a fundamental level, what are you doing? You're misleading the customer. Well, I don't think you should have a business model that's built around misleading the customer. That's bullshit.
People in the industry are saying that this will ruin everything that they've built. I mean, just look at it.
Maybe you shouldn't have built a piece of shit.
What the Supercell group said. Basically, according to a lot of them, they say these regulations will worsen the player experience and also wouldn't improve protections.
How is the player experience improved by having to spend money in the game?
Without Spider-Man, New York.
It's not. Me is a bit that I'm at least interested in. They also say that this would cause widespread collateral damage to one of EU's biggest tech success stories.
Thank God.
So here's the thing. Focus. He's not entirely wrong. He's not entirely right. There's definitely stuff for us to talk about, and this one's going to be a goddamn trip. And I get this all can be a lot. We've got tariff and trade negotiations affecting everything from Switch 2 pricing to gaming privacy laws. And that means you need a full picture. And that's where ground news comes in. It's where I go to cut through the clickbait and to understand what's happening. They're today's video sponsor.
For me, the way I get my news is I just make it up.
And here's the story of the EU pushing back against Trump's tech regulation threats. We've got 107 sources here covering it, but a striking 63% on the left, 29 in the center, and only 8% on the right. That's an imbalance that put it straight into ground news' blind spot phase.
I believe it.
The headline comparison is kind of fascinating here.
So make up statistics.
Left-leaning,
make up everything.
Rated very high factuality outlet running EU defends its digital rules as sovereign right after Trump's tariff threat. Another outlet, Americans right-leaning rating, flips it, saying Trump slams EU digital regulations as discriminatory attack on US giants. So you see the same diplomatic clashes, but opposite heroes and villains. And just those factualities alone show you where we are or are not seeing spin. The ground actually means a major piece of US EU tech news. Yeah, you're kind of missing how this is playing politically. Now, I get all...
honestly, the reason why is because all of these people and what they do is, what do you call it? Like, these news outlets are total fucking propaganda places. Totally full of shit, totally propaganda.
With brown
Did you lose your checkmark on Twitter? Yeah, because I changed my profile.
Vantage Plan. It gives you bias ratings from three independent agencies, side-by-side headline comparisons, and, let's say, their tech interest page, you can just see all the tech stories from all the angles. And if you go to ground.news/Barron, you get 40% off unlimited access with the Vantage Plan. That's the plan that I use, and that is the best deal of the year for my subs for limited time. So, if you want to check it out, hit up that link down below.
Wow.
Here's a fun fact to get us going. This was kind of kicked off by a Swedish horse girl game. Yeah,
that's what you get.
Here we are. Let's get into the story. The autumn legislative sessions are starting, and we're right at the end of the consultation period for the Digital Fairness Act. So, would you like some fairness in digital format?
No, no.
For you. Now,
should be fake. Everything should be fake.
An EU legislative agenda that covers loads of tech fields and where they intersect with consumer protections. Now, for our purposes, it includes features like deceptive interface design, all sorts of shit that they do, manipulative elements, addictive elements, and unfair personalization practices. You might think, oh, I love things.
I remember Emmy rolled for that character. She spent all of her money and time making that character as good as she possibly could. And it wasn't even full strength. Isn't that sad?
To be personalized. Less so whenever a game is trying to exploit you really wanting that next upgrade and is giving you a targeted deal. It probably has 900% value or some made-up.
Oh, 800% value! I might buy it right now!
It's consumer vulnerabilities and where people can be exploited. And you may remember our coverage from back in April, where we got to talk about this Horse Girl game.
Digital currency is bullshit. It's intentionally a scam. It's made to scam you. It's made so you waste your money. That's what it does.
So that's when the EU took on microtransactions. What happened is that the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network, rolls off the tongue, laid out some new key principles. And this all came as a part of the case made against the Swedish mobile game Star Stables. Now what we're talking about today...
The Virgin Star Stables versus the Chad Una Musume. You don't hear anything like this happening to Uma Musume, do you? Absolutely not.
Digital Fairness Act and its consultation period, it is building on those principles from the whole horse game stack. Now, what that means is new systems requiring real monetary value on listings, not just made up. Removing.
Wait, so they were watching the stream? Damn.
Multiple currency options, ensuring refunds are available. Imagine that, a refund on a gem. Crazy stuff. And also ending a lot of the FOMO practices. And especially because these things were often targeted towards kids, but also they apply to everyone because games will need to implement them across the board. Now at the time the industry was obviously not really thrilled. They love making money from all of the things that I just listed.
Here's the thing. A lot of these companies make a bunch of money because they're able to hoodwink stupid kids into spending their parents' money. This is a predatory system. It's based off of something that shouldn't be happening. It's fundamentally unethical. And there should be laws and regulations that keep it in check. Anybody that disagrees with that is either getting paid because of it or retarded.
Is a terrible idea.
Sketchy. And they framed these as new legal theories, as a disruption that could see games pulled from the EU if those games couldn't comply. Think about the poor monetization designers, guys. But where things left off is that the CPC was supposed to work with them, work with the industry to help implement everything. But 6 months later, the industry mood has not improved, and they are quite worried. That open letter from the Supercell CEO, and by the way, Supercell are the Clash of Clans people, so...
I'm thinking about going back to Clash of Clans pretty soon. I'm thinking about playing it again.
Top-tier creative gaming content, that's just one of several press efforts that we've seen in recent weeks. But it's the most striking one from his figure. Basically, he says that he doesn't want the EU's €27 billion industry harmed by the DFA or the guidelines.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you don't want to lose money. Okay, yeah, wow, what a surprise. I can't believe it. Oh my God, what a shock. You don't want to lose money.
this year, and he argues that they will, quote, break how many games fundamentally work, they will harm the player experience, and especially will do this for free-to-play games. He uses a familiar metaphor for how in-game currency works, but it's one that was okay per the legal framework before the new guidelines in April. And basically he talked about theme park tokens. The idea that a family can buy tokens in bulk, or they can buy tokens individually, or they can even win tokens in theme park. And to him, this is all framed as, quote, convenient and
retard argument, retard logic, retard argumentation. The difference is that it's like the difference versus like an online like or like a casino versus an online website where you can gamble. A casino that you go into has in-person age verification, and you're accompanied by a adult that is there to chaperone you around in the area. If you compare this to video games, these video games do not have that same type of thing. Everybody knows that. And because of that, Q's live. I get that. I don't want to hear it again. But like, I'll look at it later. I don't want to like fucking watch it live. I'll watch it later on. And so anyway, it's not even just kid takes advantage of our brain's reward centers to get you to spend money easily and fast. I think that if you want to get into it takes advantage of your brain's reward centers, you would actually end up painting with such a broad brush that you attack all advertising, period, right? And so, like, I do think some types of advertising maybe should be illegal, but for the most part, I think generally letting adults make adult decisions is good. Letting children make decisions that are against their best interests because of the lack of adult supervision is bad. And it's pretty simple, right?
Fun. Avoiding
that's what I think.
Transactions. You know the idea you can buy loads of tokens at once. And he then contrasts this with the potential worst case under the new guidelines, where individual parental approval for each token used, including signed contract agreements, regardless of purchase value and all of that, would basically harm the experience.
Exactly, it would. It would harm the... You're right, it would.
He's saying that regardless of purchase value, rides must display a real cost in euros based on a fixed standard, not, you know, token cost. Now, when children win prizes, they believe that those prizes are worth real money, despite obviously not being able to cash out. In his analogy, the visitors get frustrated and leave. Why? Well, because the experience isn't simple or safe.
Well, it's simple. It is. The thing is that what's simple for you is getting their money. And maybe it shouldn't be that simple for you to be able to trick a 9-year-old into spending their parents' money. Maybe that shouldn't be simple.
It exists now. So, I change the token system. His argument believes the existing frameworks can just be strengthened. You know, improve what we've got. Don't do a big new scary thing. Now, we will come back to how Supercell responds to those existing laws later on in this video. But going on, he suggests these new policies could result in companies...
They're also forcing video game companies that rely on optional purchases of in-game content to look at other business models like advertising-based revenues, which we all know undermines the user experience. Well, how about you just figure out, like... The thing is that if your business requires you to engage in unethical practices in order for it to exist, maybe your business shouldn't exist. That's the main problem. Is that like if you have your business and it's taking advantage of people and it's problematic, that's it.
Using other monetization models. Like more in-game advertising. And this feeling has actually got a lot of backing. Multiple large European game developers sent a letter to the EU. I have to say, a massive thank you to one of our members, Neo Nebulosa, for helping us navigate the fun industrial nuances of the continent.
It's legit predatory practices? Absolutely.
For real, this shit's complicated. Now, what happened is that Euractiv saw the letter, and then industry-wide bodies like the European Game Developer Federation also got involved. And they're all very worried, and this is based on legal interpretations of current proposals and what they would mean for them.
What you have to understand is that everything that they do and everything that they say is intentionally structured in a way for them to figure out how to make you give them more money. Their goal isn't to make sure that the consumer experience is as good as possible. Their goal is to make as much money as possible.
When ensnared in their tentacles.
You should approach
Of course,
everything
also,
that they
what
say with that
remain
mindset.
Let's go to the heart of the issue. This fundamentally comes down to a fairly simple question, but it's one with significant legal ramifications, and it's this. Is in-game currency the same as real currency? Because if it's treated as such...
Well, yeah, it's basically the same thing. It's treated the same way. I mean, if you can... Is it the same? It is and it's not, right? I mean, like, that's the answer.
As, quote, digital representations of value, then the company's...
It is a digital representation of value. It obviously is. Yeah, I mean, if that's the definition of currency, these are digital representations of value. Nobody can argue otherwise. If you are, you are.
Face significantly more scrutiny. Yep. And if you're thinking about, say, crypto and other things, yeah, you're kind of thinking along the right lines. Because effectively, they would then be a little bit more like Bitcoin under the law. And to be clear, that is the position of the CPC. And therefore, it's inherent to the current consultation for the Digital Fairness Act, which is the big thing that will really change a lot. Now, the fundamental argument is that people are putting real money into these systems, and they are getting in return for their real money a digital representation of that money in the form of products, like, say, your gems or your Call of Duty points, whatever it may be. So, because of that, they should therefore have transparency and safety when they are spending. Now,
Of course. How could anybody be against that who isn't trying to scam you? Really? It's so obvious.
Those are good, noble goals, but implementation could be a little tricky, and it would mean some enormous changes. Now, we can't just dismiss those things because we like the principles behind the changes. And for the avoidance of doubt, we here are very much behind those principles. And what the industry is putting forward really are based on worst-case scenarios. But that doesn't mean that they won't happen, and we should talk about it because it would impact the industry. Now, they already don't trust the EU elements implementing all of this.
Well, they don't trust them because they're against their best interest. It's not like they don't trust them for any sort of like a ethical reason. It's just because they're going to cause them to lose money.
It's
the same as how companies are pissed that they have to make it easier to cancel subscriptions. Yes, like in order to cancel a subscription, you shouldn't have to click 3 buttons and go through 3 different web pages and do like a survey. You should just have to be able to click it and that's it. And anybody who's arguing against that just wants to take your money. That's it. That's all they want to do. They want to take your money. They want to scam you.
Excellent video games industry memo newsletter back in April, his sources suggested to him something rather troubling, that before the new guidelines, the CPC did not engage with industry trade bonds, let alone get impact assessments. I know, impact assessment, it's real sexy stuff, but then again, we are dealing with billions of euros on how the industry actually works. Now, that's part of why these bodies are emphasizing certain facts. Things like, only 18% of kids are allowed to make purchases, that 95% get
18% of kids? That's like 1 in 5. That's massive. Like, what do you mean only 18%? That's insane. That's a crazy ratio.
Supervision, and the monthly spending has actually gone down year on year, which is at least a silver lining for microtransactions. But basically, the industry is putting forward that they see all of this stuff as using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, and basically
shouldn't have made the nut. You made the nut. You didn't want the sledgehammer. Why'd you make the nut?
That's why they've been so frustrated. Now, the CPC suggested
I'm just saying.
They would work with the industry.
No, that's the way it is.
Their big publication. And without direct leaks, we don't literally know what those discussions looked like over the summer. But based on current reactions, they did not go well. But more than that, apparently, the CPC also didn't work with other EU bodies. Yes, this is really getting all quite complex. People